Welcome to sgCarMart Reviews. Today we have quite an old car. It's the GLC, and we took it out because there is one person who keeps asking about the GLC. So you better buy the car. If you don't buy, watch out. The Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 4MATIC is priced at $276,888. 2-litre engine produces 255 brake horsepower and 370 Nm of torque. The 9G Tronic transmission brings the car from 0 to 100 km/h in 6.2 seconds. For more details on the Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 4MATIC or any other car, head on to sgCarMart.com to help you make a smart choice on the next car. So let's talk about the GLC. Now this is a GLC 300 and it replaces the previous GLC 250. Now if you didn't know, this is a facelift car. It was facelifted in 2019. This car has been around for quite a while now. And that's the reason why I say it's quite old. Of course, this GLC 300 is not an AMG line, so you don't have the better looking bumpers. Up front, you have this very short looking, very stunted looking bumper, which I find kind of strange. And also it does come with 18-inch wheels, which look quite small because of the 60 profile tires, which seem to be meant for comfort. We will find out about that later on. Now, the other thing which this car has is this side step, which I find a bit strange. Now, John says that it's easier for his kid to get up and get off the GLC, but I really think his kid should sort of learn how to get in and out of an SUV, because this is not a Land Rover, this is just an SUV. If you look at the whole thing, the GLC 300 actually is the least offensive premium SUV out there. And I guess that's the reason why a lot of people buy it. It is essentially a C-Class SUV. Now let's check out the boot space. If you look at the back, of course, these taillights are also new, part of the facelift. And when you look at the boot, it is 550 liters big, which is a reasonable size, but it doesn't pass the trolley test. It still comes a little bit short, and this is unlike the GLB where you can adjust the seats forwards and backwards. But if you need more space, you can easily just fold the seats from here. And you can slide all your stuff to the back. Not too shabby, this 550 liters of boot space. Let's talk about the rear seats. Rear seats. There's quite a bit of space at the back here, which is good. I have a lot of headroom, a lot of knee room, and a lot of wiggle room. And the front seat is set to my comfortable driving position. I am just under 1.8 meters tall, and there is quite a bit of space at the back here. Quite surprising. In fact, this feels like the space in the back of an E-Class, and this is supposed to be a C-Class SUV. Now, middle seats also do quite well. It is soft and supple, and there's quite a bit of space for three at the back. This high transmission tunnel doesn't get in the way. It's only when you want to get across. But if you're seated over here, it is indeed quite comfortable, quite surprising. Now, you do have amenities. You do have air conditioning vents, ISOFIX points, and USB-C ports, and a 12-volt socket if you need them. You can't control the temperature at the back, but that is fine. Overall, in the rear, nothing really spectacular. There is space, it is quite comfortable. That's pretty much it. Front seats. At the front, immediately you are reminded of the C-Class. Everything here feels like the C-Class. And if you're wondering why this doesn't have all those two screen layouts that you see in, let's say, the GLA, GLB and what have you, this is a facelift, so it is still the pre-facelift dashboard. But I do like the pre-facelift dashboard. What I do like is that the screen, now 12.3 inches in size, the instrument cluster is recessed into the dashboard, so you won't catch that many reflections, if you ask me. This works very well compared to the current two screen layouts. Here, this looks very familiar. It is the MBUX system, 10.25 inches in size. Not many features, but it works quite well. It does have Mercedes Me, it does have the whole Hey Mercedes thing, which I turned off because it always kicks in when I'm doing a review. This does the best, this does the best. Stop interrupting me. In terms of features, you do have wireless charging, you do have practicality, very big spaces to put all your stuff. In all, it works out very well. But over here, before we get to the drive, I must mention where my foot is, the footrest is. It's not exactly very comfortable. It's a very small and half-assed footrest. A little bit disappointing over there, but let's get on to the drive. How does it feel to drive the GLC 300? I'm not too sure how the suspension is set up here. This is not adaptive suspension. These are passive dampers. You can't adjust how hard you want the damping to be. Surprisingly, it does very well on smooth roads, as you would expect. But when you hit small bumps, somehow the bounce settings seem to send quite a bit of a shockwave into the cabin, and when the road gets a bit uneven, the car tends to rock around quite a bit, which is a little bit upsetting because this is a Mercedes, so you would expect sort of a magic carpet ride almost, but you don't really get this in the GLC. It's a little bit tough. But aside from the suspension, the road noise is actually quite well contained. There's not much wind noise. The engine, if you keep it low in the RPMs, is indeed quite quiet. Surprisingly, it has good and bad things, this GLC, but it's not too shabby. The GLC, of course, provides a very good view up ahead because this is, after all, an SUV, and it is indeed quite high, so you do get a very good view of the road. But when you look towards the back, it gets a little bit difficult. The wing mirrors, for example, are kind of small, and also the rear view mirror it really is quite small. You'll be surprised because this is an SUV. It's not a coupe sort of thing. It's not a GLC coupe, but rear visibility is not that great either. So the car actually feels much bigger than it actually is. When you actually put it on the road and you're going around a car park, initially it can get quite a bit overwhelming, but it's quite easy to get used to. And speaking of the mirrors, this GLC is not optioned as standard with blind spot monitoring, which is quite a bit of a shame. Ooh, I am distracted. So another G63. We had the G63 when we were reviewing the GLB, and now we have the G63 again when we are reviewing the GLC. It's a sign, it's a sign. I wanna know what love is. And also ease of driving. The steering wheel is very light. In fact, if you put it to sport through its settings, surprisingly it still is quite light, still maintains not much weight, which is great. Makes it easy to maneuver this car around, and well, it's really an easy car to drive. Since we talk about sport and the steering and all that, let's talk about sport, or rather the performance that this engine makes. It is surprising. Now, this is not an AMG line car, so when you look at it, you don't expect it to be reasonably powerful, but this GLC 300 does make 255 brake horsepower and 370 Newton meters of torque. There is quite a bit of power. 0 to 100 is 6.2 seconds. It is indeed quite surprising, and when you step on it, it actually sounds a little bit like a 6-cylinder, a little bit unrefined in certain areas, but at least it's entertaining. If you step on it, it indeed goes. It sounds quite good. Which is great. I mean, more power is always good. And yeah, the gearbox, the 9-speed, the 9G-tronic gearbox is a little bit strange. It tends to want to hang revs quite a bit. So, I mean, aside from that, there is enough power to get around. This car is pretty quick. It will put some hot hatchbacks to shame. That's for sure. So is the Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 a will buy, a won't buy, or a go try? Well, for me it is a won't buy. Personally, I feel that this car is just a bit too much money. It is $260,000+, which really is quite a bit of money if you think about it. And if you really want to buy a Mercedes, I feel that the GLB actually does quite well. And if you need the performance, you have the GLB 35, and that, I believe, is still around the same price or even lesser. You might say, oh, I need more space, but the thing is, the GLB, if you're looking for a 5-seater, also works very well. It doesn't work very well as a 7-seater, but as a 5-seater, it really is not too shabby. I just can't comprehend the reason why anyone would buy this car, because there's a lot of money involved in buying a GLC, and this doesn't have the mild hybrid engine. It's not the new engine, and as you can tell, the ride now is just, it's a bit all over the place. It's just a bit disappointing. I just feel that if this car was a bit cheaper, maybe just above $200,000, it would be good. But it's not. It's 260 plus. Even if you buy the GLC 200, just step below the GLC 300, it's still 250. Unless you're not paying list prices for this car, I think it can be good, but it's just no. So there you go. Won't buy. But if you're that commenter, you must buy the car, because unfortunately you have been asking for the review. So yep, you have to buy it, man. You need to stop playing Mobile Legends and buy the GLC 300. You know, maybe go to some Mobile Legends competitions or something like that, win $260,000+, and then you can buy the car. Yeah. Alright, we've come to the end of the review of the GLC 300. What do you guys think? Would you take this over, well, the X3 and the new Q5? The X3 drives very well. New Q5 looks very good. Haven't driven it, but I think it's going to be very good. Well, leave your thoughts in the comment box down below, and if you want to see more reviews from us, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, the car is bouncing all around. What's going on? Oh.